Hey everybody, I'm Shaun Blakeney, Senior Pastor of Anchor Church, and welcome to Afterthought. This is the podcast where we go back into the message and talk about all the things I didn't get to say, wished I'd said, or wanted to go deeper on. Think of this as the sermon after the sermon. Unfiltered, honest, and from the heart. I'm grateful you're here. I'm excited for what God is going to do through this podcast. Now, let's dive in today's Afterthought. Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Afterthought, the podcast where all the things I didn't say or the things I wanted to say or the things Teresa wished I said all come out in this 30-minute conversation. And this is a special edition of Afterthought. This is the Easter edition. This is that episode when we're talking about all things resurrection, the hope we have because of the life of Jesus. And we're so glad you're with us today. If we haven't had a chance yet to meet, my name is Shaun. I am partnered today with my beautiful, beautiful wife, Teresa. And we're so glad you're with us. Hey, listen, share this, comment. We read your comments.
Yes, we do.
We read your comments, and we're so glad you're joining us every single week for this Afterthought podcast. And babe, this whole season of Afterthought has been great, but especially this Easter episode, so incredible. And I want to jump right in because you and I have had some incredible trips in our lifetime.
Yes.
But I think the best trip we've ever been on is
Israel.
And the things we saw in Israel, and we had said multiple times, now that we read the Bible, things are just translated differently in our brain because we've been there, we've seen it, we've experienced it. You taught at the pool of Bethesda.
Yep.
You know,
and on the temple steps.
On the temple steps, I taught at Mount Carmel,
and
where Elijah and the prophet of Baal were.
What was crazy about that? I love that story anyway, but to be able to be there and you're teaching on it, and literally while you're teaching on it, there are Israeli fighter jets taking off. I see this force-ship come by. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? We're right in the middle of
it was amazing. I'm preaching on Mount Carmel and Israeli fighter jets flying over. It was amazing.
Exciting time, but
it was pretty cool. We thought, Lord's coming back, and we're on Mount Carmel. This is great. But one of the coolest things I think we did, babe, was we did visit the tomb.
Yeah.
And we were trying to process this morning. When you go to Israel and you experience places of biblical times or places that Jesus was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, they have a number system where, number one, we know beyond a shadow of a doubt Jesus was here. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt the prophets of Baal were here. We know, then they have a 2 in the system, which is like, we think it happened here. We're not quite 100% sure, but we believe it happened here. Then number 3 is it didn't happen here, but it looked very similar to, like we went to the upper room, right, where they had the Last Supper. Yeah. That was a number 3 site. That was it did not happen here, but we don't know actually where it happened. Right. But it looked similarly to this, blah, blah, blah. So the tomb was a number 2 site. And they don't know for sure that it was the tomb where Jesus was laid, but our Jewish tour guide really believes that is the place, and he gave a lot of understanding or a lot of reasons why they believe it is. Do you think that it was the place?
Oh, do I think it was? I like to believe it was.
Yeah.
Just only because we were there.
Yeah.
I thought there was good evidence of it, but it was just, I like to believe it's actually the place because we were there. We went in. I was overwhelmed. It was overwhelming even just waiting to get in there. And when we got in there, I thought, all I could think was, it's going to be kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Because this is where Jesus' body literally was laid dead. And I thought, I don't know if I'm going to really enjoy this. But it wasn't that at all. I think of the scripture where they say the angel told the ladies, look, here's where you're laid. I was like, oh, I don't want to look at that. Yeah. That's probably his clothes, his burial clothes were there. Were they bloody? And so that kind of stuff was going through my mind as we're going in. But when you got in there, it was not like that at all. It was like there was an angel in this room.
Yeah, yeah.
And he declared to these ladies that he's been risen, and you know that if that was the place, that is a place where the biggest act of God has ever happened. I mean, he literally raised his son from the dead, resurrected him in that place. That's what was overwhelming to me.
Babe, what was your, looking back on it, because we went, it had to be, 7-8 years ago?
At least, yeah.
What was your biggest, maybe, shock? I know what mine is. I want to see if ours is the same. What was your biggest shock when you went to the tomb? Okay, here's what I'm going to do right now. I'm saying this.
Okay.
Maybe, Laura, when she edits this, I have pictures of us, and maybe she can put these up in the podcast so people are hearing us talk about it. They can see a visual of what we're talking about. What was your biggest shock at the tomb?
At the tomb. I'm not
my
sure
biggest
that I had a shock.
was how small it was.
Oh, the tomb, yeah.
So,
and the opening was
the
really
opening
small.
was so the opening of the tomb is big enough for one person to fit in.
Right.
So, imagine maybe the opening this big. Now, you could tell that it had been opened larger. Like you could see where it was cut away, right? Where they cut away to get, maybe more people inside or whatever.
Right.
But the reasoning behind the tomb was, I mean, if you think about it, when they're burying somebody, the idea is not that they would ever come out.
Right.
So it's not like, we're going to make this really, really big so people can walk in and out. It is, we're going to make it small. And the idea was that one person would go in, right? They'd go in the tomb. They'd pass the person through, lay them down, and then climb back out, right?
Yep.
And roll the stone. The other thing that I think is shocking is because the hole was so big, the stone was not big. Now, I don't mean in regards to the fact not heavy.
Right.
Heavy, just not, like, I think my whole mindset as a kid growing up is like, it is this gigantic, massive stone the size of this wall, and it takes like 15 people to roll it. No, it might have taken 15 people to roll it in regards to how heavy it was, but it wasn't huge.
Right.
And I think the shock to me was, the stone is big and it is heavy. But the hole was smaller than what I anticipated. And it had been cut away now so that we could actually go inside. And you and I actually did go in the tomb.
Yes.
We went inside the tomb.
We did.
And that was crazy. And I once again, number 2 site, is this the place? Is it not the place? I truly believe it was. That being said, going in there was so surreal, wasn't it? It was absolutely incredible.
I just wanted to feel a little bit of what the power that was experienced in that tomb was. You're just thinking, this really was the most significant thing God has done.
Yeah.
And we are in the place where that happened.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, the other thing I think that was shocking that I didn't really grasp and understand until the tour guide was giving us explanation of why they believe that is the actual tomb, is because where it was located in regards to the city. Remember, because Jesus was taken outside of the city, buried outside the city. But they also talk about how, in my mind, the crucifixion happened like up on this big mountain, and but the way they described it is there were crucifixions that happened all along the road going into the city of Jerusalem, especially during this time with a holy festival. And the reason why is they would crucify people and hang them on the crosses as people were entering into Jerusalem, which would be a gruesome sight.
Yeah.
But that was Rome's way of letting people know, don't mess with us.
Absolutely.
And they had pretty much they had perfected the torture of the cross. But where the tomb was in relation to where Jesus died, that makes sense why, they believe that was the actual tomb site itself. But it was pretty incredible.
It was.
And they talk about being a garden tomb, like it was in a garden.
Right.
And it was beautiful. But I remember as I'm always processing and thinking about Easter now moving forward. I'm thinking, man, being there was just so stinking cool. But I think what the beauty of that, babe, is like if you look at any other religion on the planet, whoever started that religion died and is dead.
Yeah.
Which is why we know we have hope in Jesus, because he died. but he's not there anymore.
Right.
He died and rose from the dead. And, one of the things I pointed out this weekend in the sermon is that the stone wasn't rolled away so that Jesus could get out. Mm-hmm. It was rolled away so that we could see in. Because if it was closed, like he's not there, well, how do you know it's not there? Right. The stone had to be rolled away for us to be able to go in to go, no, he is not there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it gives proof. I mean, it gave them proof, ladies who showed up.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not there, and they actually saw an angel in there too, telling them the same. So obviously, it was pretty strong evidence that what had happened. And I love that we know Jesus, he in his resurrected body could have come out of that tomb without moving that rock.
Yeah.
Because he could do that. He could walk through anything that he wanted to. But the fact that they moved it just so we would have that evidence, and it is the first resurrected body. I mean, there were other people who were healed and brought back to life by miracles, but they were not resurrected. Yeah. They did not have a resurrected body that could do the things that Jesus' body that could then do. It was just the fact that he had this resurrected body and didn't have to move the stone, but they moved the stone so that it would be proof. Look, he is gone. His clothes are still there. He is gone. He is risen.
Well, I think the beauty of that for us, walking with Christ in our faith, is that beautiful picture and that beautiful reminder that death is not the end.
Right.
And it is the only faith on the planet. It's the only relationship on the planet where we can have hope in the fact that like death is not the end. Yeah. Death is just the beginning, know? And, but I think maybe if you're joining us today and your situation looks dead, it looks like there's no way possible, like the stone has been rolled in front of your situation. God can do anything. And it's that beautiful reminder that, man, God specializes in dead things, bringing them back to life. And so your situation, your marriage, your job, your resources, it may look so bleak. It may look like there's no way possible that I can find hope in this, but the crucifixion shows us what death looks like, but the stone rolled away shows us what true life looks like. And I think that's the beauty of the gospel. It's the beauty of Jesus is like, listen, man, he didn't die and stay dead. Right. He died and came back to life. He died a death we should have died so we could live a life that we shouldn't live. That's but right. he gave us that hope, and that's the beauty of Christianity, That's
right. And just that hope of resurrection, I mean, like I said, he's the first one that actually was physically resurrected, and that shows us this can be done. He's told us this. He's preparing us a place with him. Yeah. So obviously, we have the same thing in store for us when we follow him. And you know what else I found in the scripture to be really interesting was that when the angel told the ladies to go back and tell the disciples what they'd seen, I thought it was really interesting. They said, tell the disciples and Peter.
Right.
You want to talk about giving new life. I feel like Peter had to have been so dejected that he had denied him 3 times. And he was told
after he was told he would deny him. Right.
And he still did that. And he had to feel like such an outsider. He had ruined everything. He had gone away from everything he had really professed, and then he must not have felt like a disciple for sure. Yep. And so I loved that the angel, I just feel like this was like Jesus's voice saying, Peter, it's okay. Yeah. I'm still building my church on you.
Yeah, right. I'm going to use you.
Yeah.
And I think it's such a beautiful picture of redemption and love for us even. I mean, because from that, Jesus dies. Peter goes back to fishing, right? He goes back to what he knew. He's like, well, that's done and over with. And I think a couple things shocked me about that. Number one, Jesus told the disciples multiple times that he was going to die and come back to life. Multiple times. So either they weren't listening, they were just hearing him but not listening to him, or they just had never seen that before. So they're just like, what's this guy talking about? Sure, you're going to die and come back to life. Yeah, right. So that part boggles my mind that they were told multiple times, hey, I'm going to die, but I'm going to come back to life. And then that Peter just feels like, well, that's it. That's like those 3 years must have been a waste of time. I'm going to go back to fishing. And I love that Jesus encounters him and restores
Yep.
back into him that call. And I think that's the beauty of Jesus is I think people think God is so distant and God is so far away, but he meets you where you are in your trouble, in your hopelessness, in your despair. He meets you and goes, hey, I'm preparing something for you, right? He made him the fish, right? Peter comes and eats. And I just love the fact that Jesus has that personal conversation. Peter, I love you. Like, I love you, Peter.
I do too.
And I think there's those moments where, we turn our back on God or whatever, but he just continues to meet us and he goes, I love you. I want you to know I love you. I love you. And I feel like it's a message for somebody today. That's the beauty of the resurrection. Not just, yes, we have life, but man, we are loved. We are loved more than we could ever think, dream, or imagine.
Yep. I think of that in terms of life and death for Peter.
Yeah.
In that moment, he probably felt like, I am dead. I'm definitely dead to Jesus because he, I denied him. And I feel like that message just specifically saying, go get the disciples.
Yeah.
And Peter, it was so life-giving. That had to be the turning point for him to just go, when they come and tell him specifically, you're supposed to come see this.
Well, babe, we really don't ever, you and I talk about it sometimes, but I don't think we ever talk about much about the Shroud of Turin.
Right.
And if you don't know what the Shroud of Turin is, it is they believe that when Jesus was wrapped and he's laid in the tomb, when his body was resurrected, it was almost electrified with some kind of a supernatural heat that burnt the image of his face into the cloth wrapped around him. And so they have this Shroud of Turin. And I know our buddy Kevin Ralston, he loves all this stuff, and we talk about the Shroud of Turin, and and so there's a lot of people from different sides of the fence. So I believe in it, I don't believe in it, whatever. But it is pretty incredible to think about it. And now you've probably seen it on Instagram with the power of AI. They have taken the Shroud of Turin,
Right.
and they have, through artificial intelligence, formatted, if you will, the face of Jesus from this Shroud of Turin, and then they make it come to life. And I look at that, and I am brought to tears. Now, I understand it's AI or whatever, but it is like, my goodness, that is incredible, And I don't, like I said, I don't know much about the Shroud of Turin. It's not one of those things that, like, because you don't know exactly what it is. Right. Like when I was in Bible college, they talked about it or studied about it. So I don't know exactly all the ins and outs of that, but it is pretty cool to think about.
It is pretty cool. We're thinking about, we hope that number 2 tomb that we went to was the real thing because we were there. The same thing with the shroud. I feel like if that is real, that is the image of Jesus that's been captured in a state where he was being transformed back into his heavenly body. It's weird to think that could be captured. And so there's just part of you that just wants that to be so real. And so you have an actual likeness of what he was like on earth.
It is pretty amazing. And, I go back to Night at the Table. We had Night at the Table, which was just spectacular.
So beautiful.
Just focusing on the sacrifice of Jesus. And, the Romans had perfected. They were perfectionists in all things, especially in the aspect of torture. And the word excruciating actually means out of the cross. That's the word excruciating means out of the cross, because the cross was such a painful way to die. It was such a painful experience. There was no word to describe the pain felt on the cross. So they gave it the word excruciating, which means out of the cross, which means what Jesus went through on the cross is a pain. So people say, I'm in excruciating pain. Unless you're hanging on the cross, you're not in excruciating pain, because that word excruciating actually means out of the cross. And I think what Jesus went through, the amount of love he had for us, we talked about it where he's praying in the garden, if there's any other way possible that this cup could pass from me, because he wasn't just praying, he wasn't just asking for the physical pain to go away. It was the spiritual separation from his Father that he'd never experienced, because that's what happens when he took on the sin of the world. There's a separation, because God is loving, but God is just. And that had to happen for for us to be saved. Somebody had to die.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it would have meant nothing for us because we're sinful people. It had to be a sinless person to take on the sins of the world to cancel out the debt of sin. And I read that and I see that and the imagery of Jesus hanging on that cross, and all he's thinking about is us, right? Mm-hmm. And I love the fact that it's like, man, then Jesus is buried and he's fighting, right? And he's like, his whole death is all for us to experience life. And so those people in life that give up, right? They just like, life is too hard. Man, Jesus fought for you.
Yeah.
He died for you. He rose for you. He's coming back for you. And I think it's such a beautiful expression of love. It is kind of overwhelming. I had, at the night of the table, I had people that came up afterwards and just said, I didn't know I was loved this much,
Yeah, it was nice to be able to put that, in such a small way into perspective for folks, just to focus on what was gone through for us individually. And just, I think a lot of times when you just read something, you can't capture the extent of it until you can actually see it or participate. Nailing your sins to that cross. Yeah. I heard so many people say the sound of that nail being hit was excruciating.
Yeah.
It just brought to them a feeling of that was taken on my behalf, and it was such a profound moment, I think, for a lot of folks.
One of the things I was thinking about at the night of the table was, and then moving into Easter Sunday, is how many people just, let's say, they're your Christmas, Easter people, right? You come at Christmas, we talk about his birth. We come at Easter, we talk about the resurrection. And I'm thinking, man, in between, there's so much of his life that if those are the only two things you're celebrating, man, I got to go to church. Jesus was born. I got to go to church. Jesus rose from the dead. There's so much you're missing. And that relationship with Jesus is a personal, everyday walk. And I think I get overwhelmed sometimes thinking about people that just like, I go to church once every few weeks or whatever. I'm thinking, if someone gave their life for me, if someone died for me, I would be the rest of my life figuring out what can I do to repay the life that you gave me. And so, but I think it's because, I don't know if it's we're busy. I don't know if it's just a flippant thought, but I'm thinking we talk about the resurrection once a year, but we should live the resurrection every day of the year, thanking the one who gave his life for us.
It's not just like someone pushed you out of a way of a moving train and saved your life.
Yeah.
You have an extended time of life here on earth.
Yes.
But the life that was given through Jesus gives us life through eternity.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard for us to even stop and think about that on a regular basis and be grateful for that, because it's just such a foreign thought. We know life here on earth, and that's really all we know. But when you stop and think about the extent of what he did for us, what that carries with it, we're talking, we could have spent eternity separated from God.
Yeah.
And we are now getting to enjoy heaven with him when we move on. And it's just, I think it really requires us to stop and contemplate that, so we can hopefully grasp it and really be thinking every day, what do I do? What did I do to deserve this?
Yeah.
Nothing, obviously, but what can I do to try to repay?
Yeah.
Obviously, there's nothing you can repay.
Right.
He paid it in full on his own accord because he loved us so much. But, it does make me stop and think, when I think about an eternity, what do I do to show thankfulness, gratefulness for that gift that was given to me freely?
Well, I think about it so much. And, the night at the table, there was a worship expression in the room that was just, the Holy Spirit's presence was so tangible. It was so felt. And I think the reason why, I've been trying to pinpoint, I think the reason why is because we set the mental tone, right, for people to understand what Jesus did, which then is a response for us. My goodness, what a reminder.
Yes.
Like, I'm so, and what I feel like is that should be every day.
Yeah.
You know, it shouldn't just be on one night of the year when we focus on his death and one day of the year we focus on his resurrection. I think it's got to be every day we're like, wow. I mean, I kind of owned it myself to go, man, I don't know if I do that enough. I wake up in the morning and just go, man, Lord, today I owe you everything. You know, I want to give you everything. And it doesn't take a sermon to lock me in to why I should worship you. It is an everyday understanding that because of who you are, I am who I am, and I would not be who I am if it wasn't because of who you are. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I think that changes the perspective, you know?
Yeah.
I heard a story, and I'm probably going to completely butcher it because it was on Reels, and it was about it was a picture of a king. The story was the king was very loving, but he was very just. People loved him because he was a loving king, but they loved him and respected him because he was also a just king. And he was having gold stolen from his personal account in the palace. They didn't know who the thief was. So he put out a statement that whoever this person is, you know, you're going to get arrested. Gold kept disappearing. So he said, next person that comes forward, finds a person, whatever, the judgment will be 40 lashes or, you know, with whip. Now, knowing full well that 40 lashes kills you. So he basically issued a death sentence to whoever it was stealing gold from his personal palace. Come to find out it was his daughter. So the people knew that he was a loving king and a just king. So they wanted to see how he was going to respond. Mm-hmm. This is his own daughter. He's loving, but he's also just. So court happened, trial happened. She was sentenced to 40 lashes. And everyone anticipated that the king would stop the sentencing because it was his own daughter. But he moved forward with the sentencing because he's a just king. So the day came for her whipping to take place, and they wrapped her around a tree and opened the back of her shirt and started to whip. And when they pulled back the whip to whip her the first time, the king jumped up from his throne and said, stop. And the king went over and wrapped his arms around his daughter and opened the back of his shirt and said, now whip. And I think that's the picture of the gospel, that we were loved so much. God is a loving God, but he's also a just God. So it wasn't that the whipping couldn't take place. It had to take place because he's a just God. But because he's a loving God, he put his arms around us, opened his back, and said, I'll take the pain. I'll take the hurt. I'll take the shame. I'll take the whipping. I'll take the death. And it's like, the daughter stole from you. She was the one that was in the wrong, but a father's love is too great. And so I think that's the beauty of the reminder of Easter that we have to have every single day of our lives, is that God is a loving God, yes, but he's also a just God. Yeah. And there had to be a payment for the debt of sin. And Jesus took it upon himself. He wrapped his arms around us and said, I'll take the hurt, I'll take the pain. Even though I know it cost me separation from my Father, it's going to cost me physical pain, it's going to cost me torture, separation. I'm willing to do that because I love them so much. And that is the mentality that we have to have every single day of our lives. And I think if we have that mentality and we understand that, it will change the dynamics of our worship. It'll change how we see Jesus, how we respond to Jesus, how we interact with him. It will change the way we live our lives. Right. So I just want to encourage you, man, the stone has been rolled away. Not so that Jesus could get out, so that you could see in. And he is not there. He's alive. So I don't know what it is you're going through today, but I do know, have hope in the fact that we have a God that loves you. He's a just God, but he's a loving God. Man, happy Easter, everybody. We love you so much. Celebrate the resurrection of Jesus every single day of your life. Let it change the way you think, the way you speak, the way you act, the way you live, the way you interact with people. Let it change you, because he came to change you. See you next week.